Hi everyone, it's Mark from Wavelore Instruments here, and welcome to this demonstration of the upcoming Wavelore pedal steel guitar version 3.0. Those of you who are familiar with the current and earlier versions of this instrument will know that in spite of being a big step forward in emulating the pedal steel, it does have its limitations. All of these have been overcome in the new version and then some. First and foremost, on the original, there were some mental and physical challenges required to simply play your keyboard freely. Because the keyboard was divided into zones within which you could play bends via legato technique. While this made for some pretty unheard of possibilities like bending one note while others were affected, or even bending two notes in opposite directions, it requires that a neck position controller be set in order to play certain chords or chord bend combinations. For instance, you can't play a C major triad in the factory open position, or you'll get an unwanted bend. Instead, you'd have to find a neck position where the phrase you're trying to execute is possible. Version 3.0 solves this problem by doing away with the legato keyboard zones so you can play any combination of notes you want, like any normal instrument. Instead, introducing the concept of benders. A bender is a MIDI key switch or controller that bends specific notes in predefined ways. For instance, at the push of a single button or key, I can bend a C major chord to an F major chord. Using the same bender, I can also perform the reverse operation, F to C. In certain cases, a bender can have secondary functions. For instance, a C7 can be bent to an F major. There are up to 12 benders, and they can be used in combination. Using the bender settings pictured at left, you can create, save, and load presets for all 12 available benders or individual ones. Of course, there are factory presets and settings that are certain to accommodate the most common needs, and those can be altered, transposed, saved, and recalled for limitless possibilities. Now, there's a whole lot more I could say about benders and how they work, and we'll get into a more detailed video later on that will explore these in depth. For now, here's a look at some individual benders in action. And by the way, if you notice things sound a little out of tune when I use some of these, it's because each bender has a cabinet flex setting that models a real guitar's tendency to flex when its overall tension is altered by a bent string, causing other strings to drift in pitch. That lends the instrument a subtle microtonal quality, but if you want perfect equal temperament, the feature is optional and tweakable on a per bender basis. The next improvement in version 3 is that we now have an easy way to perform long slides on notes or chords. That was highly impractical on the original Wavelore pedal steel, but now we have a feature called sliders, which are sort of like benders, but they slide all notes together, mimicking the way a steel guitar player moves their slide up and down the neck. Sliders can be used to set neck position, transpose the instrument, or as I already mentioned, slide all sounding notes. Here, instead of a controller that sets neck position, I simply have 3 key switches that can slide between positions 0, 5, and 12. Notice that in this setup, the 12th position slider also shares its key switch with bender 10, so the same key can be tapped to slide anything into position 12, but holding it will bend a D chord into a G chord. Another thing you'll notice is that slides can also sound variably out of tune. This is pitch humanization that mimics the way a slide player doesn't quite always reach the exact tuning point at a given position. Each slider can be set to miss its target by an amount randomly chosen from a user-defined range and then correct. The correction process also has its own parameters and ranges, and this feature combined with cabinet flex and a couple of other things we'll get to make for a much more believable sound overall. As with benders, there are loads of preset and editing features for sliders. Now this would be a good time to mention that all benders and sliders and combinations of the two are FORMANT corrected in this version, where the original used simple pitch alteration resulting in unnatural stretching and squashing of sample speed and timbre. In version 3, the correct sample will always crossfade in depending on how far you've bent the note in total. Two more quick things to mention before we clue up. First, the original instrument used Kontakt's LFO modulator to imitate vibrato. While this was passable, since a steel guitar player mostly uses a gentle oscillation of their slide to create vibrato, making the mechanical LFO less obviously false sounding, the new version can set to randomize the speed and depth of each cycle of vibrato. That's much more convincing. Finally, some folks out there may remember that the very first version of this product was released for a sampler called GigaStudio, which was discontinued in 2008. GigaStudio had a powerful dynamic filter meant to emulate several velocity layers using just one. The samples we recorded for this instrument were decided upon with that filter in mind, and with GigaStudio's demise and the subsequent porting of the pedal steel to Kontakt, we had to settle for a simple low-pass filter for velocity. Since then, Native Instruments has implemented their own authentic expression technology morphing filter, which suits the instrument at least as well as GigaStudio's did. The net result is a more expressive range of timbral variation over the dynamic range of the instrument. So there you have it, the essential features of Wavelore's pedal steel guitar version 3.0 for Kontakt 5 and higher, available summer 2021. Version 2.51 is on sale at our website, link in description, for just $49.99 until that time, and there will be both free and paid upgrade paths for all owners when it drops. See www.wavelore.com for more. I'll leave you for now with the full version of the intro tune from this video. See you next time.